I noticed it somewhere between the last gas station and the town limits. The GPS just froze. No more blue arrow creeping along the road. No voice directions. Just silence. At first, I thought it was bad signal. We were in the middle of nowhere after all. I tapped the screen a few times, closed the app, reopened it. Still frozen. The map displayed the little two-lane road I was on, but the blue arrow didn't move. I drove another mile. Still nothing. Then I looked closer. The road behind me, the one I'd just come from, wasn't there anymore. Just a pale gray background with no route drawn. No highway number, no towns. Just blank space. I slowed the car, heart suddenly beating a little faster. My fingers hovered over the screen, trying to pinch and scroll. But it was like the map itself had been cut off, as if the world had ended behind me. It wasn't just the GPS. I tried Google Maps, Apple. Even the emergency call function on my phone started buffering endlessly. Probably a weird glitch, I muttered. But the way the road ahead narrowed, the way the trees began pressing in close to the pavement, heavy and low and full of shadow. I didn't feel like laughing. The sign ahead said, "Welcome to Greywater, established 1867. And underneath, in crooked metal letters, someone had clearly hammered in by hand, "You're safe now." I slowed down. The engine made a soft ticking sound as I pulled up next to the sign. Beyond it, the road dipped into a shallow curve, lined by old-fashioned street lamps and quaint little buildings. A drugstore, a post office, a barber shop with a spinning red and white pole. Looked like a postcard from the 1950s. I parked on the side of the road and stepped out of the car. The air smelled clean, but in a sterile, faintly unnatural way. Like a hotel room that had just been deep cleaned. And it was quiet, too quiet. No birds, no wind, just stillness. When I turned back to look behind me, to the road I'd driven in on, I blinked. It was gone. The road just ended, as if the pavement had been scooped away like a bite from a cookie. Beyond the edge, dense forest. No shoulder, no trail. No sign there had ever been a road there at all. I walked to where the asphalt ended. My boots hit soft dirt and then moss. I pushed through the first line of trees, trying to retrace the path. Nothing. No tire tracks, no oil stains. Just untouched forest floor and the kind of silence that presses into your eardrums. When I turned around, I swear the town looked closer, like it had crept up behind me while I was distracted. I walked quickly back to my car and slammed the door. The engine started, thankfully. But when I looked at my phone again, there was no signal, no time, no battery level, just the lock screen, flickering slightly. And then something even stranger. Instead of my usual wallpaper, the screen now showed a grainy, black and white image. It looked like the town square. And standing in the middle of it was someone. No, not someone. Me, wearing the same jacket, same backpack, standing in the same town. Only I hadn't taken that photo. My breath caught. I stared at the photo on my lock screen, willing it to go away. I hadn't taken it. I knew I hadn't. I'd never even been to this town before today. But the image was unmistakable. The exact buildings I'd just seen. The post office with its faded blue paint. The iron bench under the willow tree. And standing dead center in the frame. Me. Or someone who looked just like me. Frozen mid-step, like a still from a surveillance feed. I pressed the power button, locked the phone. Then unlocked it again. Same image. I tried to reset the wallpaper. The settings wouldn't load. I went to the photo gallery. The file wasn't there, just the image. On the lock screen, no trace of it anywhere else. I looked up, half expecting someone to be watching from a window or standing across the street with a camera. But everything was still. Too still, like time had flattened out. I put the phone face down on the passenger seat. "I'll just ask someone," I muttered. But it came out too loud. Like I was trying to convince myself I still had control over the situation. I walked down the street toward the general store. Its wooden door creaked as I opened it. A little bell jingled overhead. Inside, shelves stacked with neatly arranged canned goods, faded labels, handwritten price tags. The overhead lights were warm and dim, incandescent, the kind you hardly see anymore. An old man stood behind the counter, reading a newspaper with yellowed edges. He didn't look up. I approached slowly. "Hi, my GPS stopped working. Do you know if there's a signal anywhere around here?" The man turned a page. "No service in Greywater. Never has been." His voice was dry, like the sound of gravel in a paper bag. He still hadn't looked at me. "No cell towers?" "No." I waited. "Okay. Do you know if there's a way out of town heading west? I came in on a road that seems to have disappeared." Now he looked up. His eyes were pale blue, almost gray. "Roads disappear all the time," he said, "especially around here." I forced a chuckle, hoping he was joking. "No, I mean, physically gone. I just came in from—" "You don't need to leave just yet," he interrupted, folding the newspaper slowly, precisely. "Most people don't, not right away." I stared at him. "Excuse me?" "Your cabin's ready," he said. "Up on Birch Lane, just past the library." I hadn't told him I was staying. I hadn't even booked a room. "Someone's already up there. Should have left the key on the hook," he added. The overhead light flickered just once, like a twitch. "Look, I think you're mistaking me for someone else. I didn't reserve anything." He tilted his head. "Not yet, but you will." The bell jingled behind me. Someone had come in. I turned, but the door was closed. No one there. When I turned back to the counter, the man was gone. No sound, no back door. Just the empty shop and the faint scent of cedar and something else. Something sharp and metallic, like the inside of a dusty radiator. My chest tightened. I walked out into the street. The clouds had thickened above the town. The sky was a low, bruised gray. Shadows stretched longer than they should have, given the hour. I looked back at my car. Still there. I could drive away right now, try another direction. But something made me hesitate. Birch Lane? The cabin. Why did I know that name? I opened my glove box to grab my notebook, thinking maybe I'd jotted something down during the trip. A route, a landmark. And there it was, scrawled on the back of a gas receipt I didn't remember writing. Birch Lane. 4 p.m. Don't be late. The ink was fresh, and it was my handwriting. The drive up Birch Lane should have taken 2 minutes. It took 10. The street twisted strangely, looping through the woods in a way that didn't make geographic sense. I kept expecting to circle back to the general store, but instead, I found myself on a narrow gravel path flanked by dark pines. The air was thicker here, the kind of dense quiet that presses against your skin. No wind, no birdsong. Then, up ahead, a cabin. Modest, weathered, with a sloping metal roof and a narrow porch. One window glowed softly with warm light, though I hadn't passed any power lines on the way. The porch steps creaked underfoot. The key was where the shopkeeper had said it would be. hanging on a rusted hook nailed to the doorframe. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. It looked lived in, not dusty, not abandoned. There was a faint scent of coffee and pine. A coat hung on the rack by the door. A pair of worn boots rested on the mat. And my stomach twisted when I realized they looked just like mine. Not similar, identical. Same worn leather, same scuff on the heel, same frayed laces tied in the way I always do it. I stepped farther inside. There was a small living area, a fireplace, a table set for one. A pot of water was still warm on the stove. I should have left, right then. Instead, I sat. My legs felt weak, as if whatever had led me here knew I needed to stop resisting. On the table was a journal, brown leather cover, no title, just like the one I carry when I travel. My hands moved on their own. I opened it, the first page. My handwriting, my words, a perfect record of my drive, my arrival, my confusion, my visit to the store, my interaction with the old man, word for word. And then a sentence I hadn't written yet. You read this, and you remember what you forgot. I flipped through the pages. They described the forest, the scream, the boot, the photo on my phone, the note I hadn't found, the note I would find. I flipped faster. My own face stared up at me from a sketch. Below it, written in bold strokes, "Watch the tree line." I froze. Something scraped outside the window. Slowly, I turned my head. At the edge of the forest, maybe 20 feet from the porch, a figure stood between two trees. Tall, thin, completely still. I blinked. It was closer. I blinked again. Gone. The sound of my own heartbeat was deafening in my ears. I slammed the journal shut, grabbed my bag, and backed toward the door. My hand found the knob, but on the inside of the door, something was carved into the wood. Deep grooves, as if scratched in a hurry, each letter jagged and uneven. If you leave, you forget again. My breath hitched. The room was spinning. Again? I stumbled back, knocking over the chair. My reflection in the window didn't match me. Just for a split second, the face looked tired, older, like someone who had been here a very long time. I ran out the door, down the steps, toward the car. It wasn't there. The gravel path behind me. Gone. Replaced by thick woods. No road. No clearing. Only trees. Watching. Waiting. My phone was dead. The journal was in my hand. And then, in the silence, a whisper. Now you remember. You've already checked in. Room 12. That's what the front desk clerk said. She didn't even look up when I gave her my name. Just tapped a few keys on the dusty keyboard, frowned slightly, and said it again, firmer this time. You've already checked in. Room 12, I felt my scalp prickle. The sign outside read, Summit Pines Motel, vacancy. It was one of those tired roadside stops you only end up in because the storm's rolling in faster than expected and your phone's out of signal. Nothing special. Flat roof, beige stucco walls, a flickering soda machine next to the lobby door. I'd been driving for hours through the mountains, trying to make it to my cousin's place before nightfall. When the fog swallowed the road and the gaslight came on, I knew I had to stop. The motel was the first structure I'd seen in miles. I think there's a mistake, I said. I've never been here. The woman finally looked at me. Middle-aged, thin, hair scraped back into a bun so tight it looked painful. Her eyes were tired, or maybe distant, like she was looking through me. You checked in this afternoon, she said, around 3:45. Paid cash. ID matched the name you just gave me. I stood there for a second, feeling that quiet hum of dread just behind my ribs. The kind of feeling you get when you walk into a room and forget why you're there. Only this was stronger, sturdier. "I didn't check in," I said. "I've been on the road since 9 this morning. I didn't stop anywhere." The woman turned the screen toward me. And there it was, my full name, the correct license plate, the timestamp, my signature at the bottom of the form. It even looked like my handwriting. Not perfect, but close enough to give me chills. Still trying to shake the unease, I forced a smile. "Can I see the room?" She didn't answer, just slid the key across the counter with a tired, metallic clink. Room 12 was down a cracked concrete walkway around the corner from the lobby. The wind had picked up, pushing fog across the parking lot like dirty cotton. One of the light bulbs above the rooms was strobing faintly. My key slid into the lock with a click, and the door creaked open. I stopped cold. My backpack was sitting on the chair. My water bottle, scuffed with a faded sticker, was on the nightstand. My extra jacket, the one I thought I'd forgotten at home, was draped over the foot of the bed. And on the bathroom counter, my toothbrush, wet. I didn't move. I couldn't. Every item was unmistakably mine. Not just similar, the same. The way the jacket sleeves were rolled, the little tear in the strap of my backpack, the way my water bottle cap squeaked when twisted. I knew these things, intimately, personally, and they were here. I stepped inside like I was walking into a museum of my own life. My phone buzzed in my pocket. One bar. I pulled it out instinctively, looking for a lifeline, a rational distraction. There was a notification, a calendar reminder I hadn't set. Checkout, 6:06 a.m. No date, no context, just the time. I deleted it, or tried to. The screen froze, then went black. Silence in the room was suffocating. Not peaceful, intentional, like the air itself was holding its breath. I moved to the bathroom, gripping the sink. The mirror was fogged at the edges. Though I hadn't used any hot water, I wiped a patch clean. That's when I noticed the note. A sticky note, pressed to the corner of the mirror. In neat handwriting, mine. Or close enough that I didn't argue with it. It said only, "Don't leave the room after midnight, no matter what you hear." I stared at it until my vision blurred. I turned, checked the closet, under the bed, the tiny motel fridge. Nothing. Just the usual scratchy sheets, dusty curtains, and hum of electricity. But something felt off. Like the room was holding back, waiting. I went to the front desk again. The clerk wasn't there. I rang the bell. Nothing. Behind the counter, the room was dark except for the pale blue glow of the computer screen. I leaned over slightly and saw the guest list. The log of everyone checked in. Just one name. Mine. Room 12. Checked in yesterday. Today. Tomorrow. A loop. Back in the room, I sat on the edge of the bed. The TV wouldn't turn on. The remote had no batteries. I tried the landline. Static. The curtains wouldn't open more than a few inches. Outside, the fog pressed against the glass like it wanted in. I checked the time. 11:42 p.m. I should have left. I should have packed and driven into the dark, into anything else. But I didn't. Because part of me, the part that was now whispering just beneath my skin, believed the note. The one in my handwriting. Something would come after midnight, and I couldn't risk meeting it outside. So I waited. 12 a.m. The clock blinked silently, casting a faint red glow across the room. I sat rigid on the bed, back straight, breathing shallow. The air had changed, thickened. It was like the walls were breathing with me, slower, deeper. as if something had entered the room without crossing the threshold. Then it started. A faint sound, far off. Scraping. At first, it was easy to dismiss. Just the wind. Maybe a branch against the roof. But then it came again. Closer. Sharper. The unmistakable sound of fingernails dragging across wood. It was coming from outside the door. I gripped the edge of the mattress as the knob rattled once, then fell still. Then, a knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I stayed frozen. Another knock. Then a voice, barely above a whisper. "Let me in. You forgot something." It sounded like me. Same cadence. Same low rasp I get when I'm tired. My own voice, just slightly wrong. Like it was mimicking, trying too hard. "I have your phone," it said. "You'll need it." After 6:06, I stared at the door, heart battering against my ribs. My phone was dead, still lying on the nightstand. The knob turned again, more forceful now. "Come on," the voice said. "You checked in already." I nearly screamed. Instead, I bolted for the bathroom, slammed the door, and locked it. Pressed my back against the wood, every nerve in my body screaming. Outside, the knock stopped, replaced by something worse. Breathing, not human breathing. Wet, uneven, like someone drowning, but still alive. Close. The mirror was fogged again. There was a second sticky note. It hadn't been there before. This one read, "It's not trying to get in. It's trying to get out." My stomach dropped. Something moved behind me, inside the bathroom. But when I spun, there was no one. Nothing. Only the mirror. Except the reflection wasn't mine. It looked like me. Same face, same clothes. But the thing in the mirror wasn't copying me anymore. It smiled, and behind its eyes, something old was watching, waiting. My reflection reached forward, its hand pressed against the inside of the glass. The lights cut out. Darkness swallowed the room whole. I woke up to light. Morning. Sunlight filtered weakly through the curtains. Birds chirped. The room was exactly as I'd found it the night before. My things, my clothes, my backpack. I checked the time. 6:05 a.m., 1 minute until checkout. I ran outside. The fog was gone. The lot was empty. The lobby, dark. No clerk, just silence. I jumped in my car, turned the key. It started. The gas tank was full. I didn't question it. I didn't look back. As I pulled onto the highway, my phone buzzed back to life. One notification, a calendar reminder. Check-in, 6:06 p.m. I hurled the phone out the window and drove faster. Behind me, in the rearview mirror, I saw it for just a moment. Room 12. Curtains open, and something watching me leave. Something with my face.